e-learning lesson is going to cover using form letters. We're going to go over some basic form letter essentials. We're going to cover the form letter variables and show you where to find those on your computer. We're going to create a sample form letter and edit one that I've already got going, and then I'll actually show you how to merge that sample form letter as well as a couple other ones. So as far as the form letter basics, the idea behind form letters is instead of for those letters you might send to all the clients when the horse arrives or when you receive a breeding contract, those kind of situations, instead of typing in each client's name and address and horse's name every single time for each new client, we're going to utilize Wise Option and Microsoft Word to do that for you. So you'll understand a little bit more about form letters as we go through this lesson. To find the form letter variables that come with Wise Option, you would simply open up your Wise Option folder, and for some of you that may be located on a server, but you'll open up this folder for Wise Option, and it is a Word document titled Form Letter Variables. We're going to go ahead and open that, and you can see here is a list of a bunch of variables that don't make a lot of sense, but it does to Microsoft Word. For each set of these, they can be accessed from different places in Wise Option. So if we were looking at a straight horse file or coming from the customer file, you could use things like the customer's name or the customer's nickname, their addresses, phone numbers, anything that you might have in, a current balance if you wish to send them a letter stating that they owe you money. Again, all of the animal information that you might find in the horse file. And then we get into the stallion collection information, collection liner types, motilities, everything that you had entered into Wise Option for that collection. Also information on the shipment request. Whenever somebody puts in there, if you need to send a letter out with a shipment, you can print a form letter based on the information in the shipment request. I strongly encourage you to print this out and kind of see what variables are available to give you ideas as to where you can utilize this feature. Today we're actually going to work off of the breeding contract section, and we're going to be using these variables right here. bc.mare, owner name will be one of them. Lots of these ones right here as far as also the stallion information we're going to be utilizing. So I'm going to switch over to a letter that I already have created, and this form letter is perhaps one that I send out to everybody whenever they send me a breeding contract in the mail and I receive it. I'm going to send this back. So I have typed out her name and her address, her mare's name as I normally would, along with her registration number and the breed association, as well as her date of birth. Now, from here down, you can see that I've used these variables and inserted them in place of where I would like my information to come from Wise Option. So we're going to modify this letter, and I would suggest for you, if you already have a copy of a Word document, to save as another one with all these form letter variables in it. And bear with me, I'm going to type in her name and address as well as her mare's information so you can see exactly how this is done. For the client's name, we are again coming from the breeding contract section, and so I'm going to type in from my form letter variable list that I have already printed off, the mare owner name. And so that will, anytime that I open this, provide me the mare owner's name. I'm going to now do the mare owner's address. And I'm following, like I said, exactly off of this sheet that I had printed out. And the owner's city. And the state. And keep in mind, too, that if you wanted something in here to be bold, simply bold that variable. If you want something to be italicized, you can do that too. Underline the same way. You can change the font of anything. And as we get through the rest of this, these things don't change very much, so I am going to copy this information right in here, but it won't let me because of the spelling. So now I'm going to copy this information right here, and I'm going to insert it For my next one, instead of typing that again, I'm just going to change this to the state because the variables are the same. And I am going to paste again and change this for the zip code. And then I can delete the zip code I have. So this is going to provide, when I merge this with the information I've put into WISE option, the mare owner's name, the mare owner's address, city, state, and zip code. And I also have a comma in there and some space between the state and zip code, so my format is correct. Now I used to have to type in the mare's name. However, I can have WISE option do that for me every time now. So there is her name, and I am going to copy this because I would like to have it twice. And again, I need to add it to my dictionary so it will let me. And ignore my grammar. You will have to play around with Microsoft Word a little bit to make sure that it will let you do what you want. I can get rid of her name now. I also have a place in here. Perhaps she's not an AQHA mare and she's an APHA mare, or you have a different registry. I'm going to put in her registry type. The association name I have entered into the computer. This is going to be her association registration number. And you can see that I also have the registration number and the association on the stallion just below this. And the last thing I will do on this is to change it to her date of birth that I have in the computer for her. Which is year of birth in the computer. So I've now changed all that. I already have entered in my stallion information as well as the contract received date and the amount they still owe me. So this is my new form letter. I'm going to save it. And again, we might advise you to save as and create a backup one that you're used to working with on a regular basis, and then the new one that will work off of WISE option. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to also close our form letter variables. And we are going to open up WISE option. And I will show you how to make this work. We're going to go to the stallion management, and again, everything changes based on where you open it from. So if I were to open the horse file and try to print this same one that we were just working on that had the breeding contract information, it wouldn't know which contract to go off of if she was booked to more than one stallion, or which season we wanted. So we have to be specific. So I want the information to come from the breeding contract, so I am going to select my breeding contracts and open it. I'm just going to refresh it so I have everybody on my list. And then I want to send it to Deanna Roberts about Great Stop and Hot Sudden. So I've highlighted her breeding contract by clicking on it one time. Now I'm going to go up to Print and Form Letters. And it will open the form letter form, and I'm going to pick from the model which document I want it to auto-populate. So we're going to browse, and the one that we were working on is BC form letter, and I will say open, and now it's got that one as the model it's going to use, and I'm going to generate. And it will take a couple of seconds for it to go through and pick out the information in WISE option and actually place it into your form letter for you. It is important that when you print these off, don't save them. If you save them, it will replace all of those variables we just entered with the actual name of the client and the name of this particular horse. So it's very important not to save it. You can save as and change the name, but if you save it, it's going to replace that BC Contracts form letter that we just created, again, with the names of those people and the horse that we just printed. So that is one pitfall that some clients go through, and it just has to be something that you remember every time. Whenever you save it, it will ask, or whenever you close it, it will ask if you'd like to save, and you say no. Now on your computer it won't take quite as long as what you're seeing on mine due to the way that we have things set up so that we can record these e-learnings and you can see the screen. It does take a little bit longer on this computer, but we're just going to wait for it to open. Form letter has been merged successfully. We'll click OK, and it will ask if we would like to view it. We'll say yes. And occasionally, whenever you change things, just like here, something didn't work out quite like it should have. I should have put in there something a little bit different than what I did, so we will go through. It looks like there's a space right here you can see that shouldn't have been in there, and it looks like the same thing right here. So I can go back and change that form letter, and actually I will do that right now. So I'm going to close it. I do not want to save this, and I'm going to go back into my documents, which is where it's stored. And this is something that you guys will have to do from time to time when you open up a letter for the first time when you create it the first time. The spaces it's all sensitive, so you have to make sure that you're actually putting it in exactly as to what the variable calls for, or it will just turn out to be the name of the variable. So I fixed those two locations. I saved it. Now I'm going to close it and return to Wise Option. And again, I'm going to, still with her highlighted, of course, print form letters. And I'm going to browse for that particular document again, the BC form letter, and click Open and Generate. And again, we're just going to wait for this to generate. Yet. Again, it is due to the way that we have things set up for these e-learning lessons. It won't take this long on your computer, I promise. So it has been merged. We'll go ahead and say OK and open the document. And you can see here that, remember, this did have our form letter variables up here with her name, her address. I changed the space on the state and the city, so that now will populate. It has entered her mare's name here. Her mare's name, it has put AQHA because that's what her registration type is in the computer. Her registration number, her date of birth. Again, the stallion, the contract receive date. She owes no money because that's what it says in the breeding contract that I have entered for her. So this would be an example. You would simply choose to print it off, print 2 copies if that's what you need, and then close it. That is all there is to form letters. So again, just so that you can see where some of that information came from, I'll open this up. I had entered in her contract receive date and her balance due as the other 2 items at the bottom of that form. So I can show you a couple of other ways. One of the form letters that I like to use is from the mare management. I open up the embryo transfer log, and let me get a list of embryo transfer mares for you to look at. And for this mare, for example, some people like to have some fold-out sheets in the barn for the fold-out attendants if they fall out in the middle of the night. They don't always have access right to the computer for the fold-out button. So I made a form letter that has all the information that I would then later put into the computer, and I will show you what that looks like. Let's go again to my documents, and this one happens to call Recip Fold-Out Sheet. And I will open this. And again, this was made simply for the fallout attendants or those folks at night who didn't have the information right at hand or didn't have access to the computer. So I have entered in the embryo transfer recipient due date, her neck band, so everything is very clear. They happen to keep these forms in a 3-ring binder that was located in the foaling lab. Again, we have the owner, phone number information for contact to let them know as soon as there was a baby born. The sire and donor, because again, this is for recipient mare. Her last breeding date, so we can make sure everything looks normal and calculate dates if it's an early arrival. And again, this information that I've put on here is what we'll put into Wise Option on the fold out button. So it's all right here handy. They can write it down just as soon as it happens. So that is one of them. And I'll show you another one that I have created. This one is the welcome letter. And this might be a welcome letter when a horse arrives. If it's maybe by a shipper or a hauler, we'd send a letter to the owner just to let them know that their horse got here safe and to make sure that we have all the information correct as far as their registry and their arrival date. Age and animal name is all on there. So again, these are some examples of the form letters. You can also find, like I said, your form letter variables right here in your Wise Option folder. And I would suggest to keep those out, print them off. There are several pages of them. Go through and see which variables that we've given you so that you can utilize this. If you have mares that are in foal and you want to send a letter to the owner to let her know, you can enter all of that information right off of the form letters and only create one letter and then access your form letter from Wise Option, and it will merge all of that information into Microsoft Word for you. You only have to create your letter one time. It's a fabulous feature that some people are a little scared of, but dig in, create your form letters. Everything that you're creating, again, is done in Microsoft Word, and then you would simply open it from Wise Option. So it's a very simple procedure. So this e-learning lesson has covered some form letter basics, showed you where the form letter variables are and what they look like. We created and edited that sample letter, and we merged the sample letter, and also showed you a couple of other ones that you can get some ideas from. Again, your creativity is the limit to what you can do with form letters. They can be used from anywhere, and remember that based on those form letter variables that you print out is where you need to open that. If it starts with ET, of course you need to open it from the embryo transfer log. There are many buttons that have form letters throughout Wise Option, and I would encourage you to delve in and find where you can utilize this.